Thanks for joining me in another video. Today we're looking at Hyundai's second model in the IONIQ all-electric lineup. With me is the Hyundai IONIQ 6 SEL, so sit tight as we explore its features, test out its charging, and take it out for a spin. Okay, let's look at some of the numbers. This EV has 4 trims and pricing starts at $41,600 MSRP for the SE standard range and goes up to $52,600 for the limited trim. Depending on the configuration, you can travel 240 miles or up to 360 miles, which is pretty good. The build with us today is a rear-wheel drive SEL model with 20-inch wheels. It's estimated to be able to drive 305 miles, getting a combined 117 miles per gallon equivalent. It's built on the same eGMP platform as the Kia EV6 and Hyundai IONIQ 5, so we should see the same great charging rates we're used to in these cars. This electric sedan seamlessly blends its futuristic design with practicality. The IONIQ 5 and 6 both have intriguing exteriors. The IONIQ 5 has its boxy design, while the IONIQ 6 turns heads with its nice curves. I personally like this design and form factor more. I like the small sedans rather than taller crossovers. It has a sleek and aerodynamic profile, and its pixel design is presented throughout the car. Just like on the IONIQ 5, we see the pixels on the interior, headlights, and especially the taillights. In the European trims of this car, you can choose to get cameras that replace your side mirrors. The camera modules look really cool and are made with translucent plastic. Inside the clear module is the light assembly for your blinkers. On the inside of the car, there are 2 dedicated screens on the left and right side for displaying your mirrors. The door handles sit flush with the door and automatically pop out when you approach the car. Always a nice quality of life feature. This car is painted in Serenity White, but it's also offered in 6 other earthly colors. The rear of the IONIQ 6 looks familiar, kind of like the Porsche whale tails from the 1970s, but a bit smaller. Conveniently, there's a smart trunk that opens when you approach it, but it's very slow. You can also adjust the trunk height from full height to half height. It offers 11.2 cubic feet of cargo capacity. The trunk opening is kind of small, so larger or bulkier items are going to be difficult to fit in here. When opting to lay the seats down to expand storage, the already limited opening to this area presents further restrictions. It's not much of an ideal storage layout. There's a small space under the floor here as well. In the front of the car, there's a little pocket of space in the front, and it gets you about a half a cubic foot of space. On the rear-wheel drive car, since there isn't a motor here, you're supposed to get extra space, but for some reason it doesn't have it. If you look under the tray, there is so much space. They could have made it a lot bigger. The interior is described as cocoon-shaped by Hyundai, offering a spacious and comfortable ride. Up front are the dual 12.3-inch screens, creating a dynamic visual hub. The IONIQ 6 offers a lot of features, including Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, Wi-Fi hotspot, and plenty of USB ports to plug into. The infotainment system is a breeze to navigate, responding promptly to your commands. This will feel very familiar if you've used Hyundai or Kia's previous vehicles as well. Directly below the screen, quick buttons for things like maps, media, and temperature adjustments are just a touch away. Unfortunately, in this trim, we don't get a heated steering wheel or ventilated seats. You'll have to purchase a limited trim for that. As consolation, we still get heated seats, and as a driver, you get 8-way power adjustable seats and lumbar support. I like this space in the middle under the cup holder. It's a good spot to put my bag. The center console is a bit interesting. If you notice on the door, there aren't any window controls. These are all controlled right here. I don't think I've seen that in many commuter cars. All throughout the car, there's ambient lighting, and you can control the color of the lighting from the touchscreen. No complaints about the seats. They're quite comfortable and would be good on a road trip. I imagine anyone who is really tall might have limited headroom in the car, as the roofline is pretty low. Things are pretty simple back here. There are 2 USB-C ports to charge up your devices, and passengers back here get their own air vents. On the Limited, there's a 120-volt AC outlet for some bigger electronics. Hyundai also sells a V2L adapter for their cars, which gives you an AC outlet on the outside of the car too. This is useful for things like camping or even powering some small electronics in your home during a power outage. As I always say, one-pedal driving is my favorite, so I'm switching it on here. In the IONIQ, it's called iPedal. You can also have the car come to complete stop with the left paddle behind the steering wheel. It feels smooth and we're making the most out of our mileage. Fresh starter folks, visibility around the car is great. Well, except for that back sloped window. It feels grounded and it doesn't feel as heavy as the BMW i4. Also, road noise is minimal. It's not as noisy as my Model 3. Let's try an acceleration burst, and I have it on sport mode. Alright. So it's very swift, but it's not as fast as a rear-wheel drive Model 3, but it still propels you forward. It's fun. It drives pleasantly and quietly, but it is missing a bit of that punch and sharp steering. The IONIQ 6 has a fair number of standard features, and if you upgrade to the Limited, you get remote smart parking. So what's powering this car? Well, it's outfitted with the single permanent magnet synchronous motor mounted on the rear axle. It's capable of outputting up to 168 kilowatts or 225 horsepower. If you upgrade to the all-wheel drive trim, you'll have a motor on both the front and rear axles to unleash a combined 320 horsepower. Following its predecessor, the IONIQ 6 uses an eGMP battery platform. Now what about the battery pack? The pack on this car is made of lithium-ion cells produced by either SK Innovation or CATL. On the long-range cars, the pack has a capacity of 77.4 kilowatt hours and has a nominal voltage of 697 volts. If you opt for the standard range, you get a 53 kilowatt hour pack at 480 volts. We have an 11 kilowatt onboard charger which should fully charge this car in about 7 hours overnight. As expected, the J1772 charging port is present for AC charging and CCS for DC fast charging. Hyundai and Kia haven't committed to the NACS connector just yet, so for the foreseeable future they'll continue to be using the CCS port. When it's time to replenish, the 800-volt system takes the spotlight. The promise? Hyundai states that it can charge from 10 to 80% in only 18 minutes. Having used the IONIQ 5 and Kia EV6 before, I can confirm that this number is realistic. The charging times on eGMP cars are fantastic, but we'll see what results we get this time. Okay, we're at 18% and we're going to plug into a 350 kilowatt Electrify America charger. Let's see how it does. We're charging up in Baker, California. It's a cool spot since it has several EV charging options. We have Tesla, Electrify America, EVgo, and other DC fast charging options. Looking at the data graphed out, we started off strong at 229 kilowatts, and the highest we hit was 245 kilowatts at 48%. It then started to dip and we ended at 80%, still charging above 100 kilowatts. The cost at this charger was 48 cents per kilowatt hour. Total cost after taxes and fees was $25.43. 18% to 80% in only 15 minutes. That's fantastic. As for comparisons, I think this car stacks up well to the BMW i4 and the Tesla Model 3. The refreshed Model 3 will be on the road soon, but for now I'll be comparing it to the current 2023 model. So Hyundai has their own comparisons chart on their website, and I understand they specifically choose points to make their car look better. But in my opinion, it did not. They list all these features but mark them as available while many are standard on the Tesla Model 3, and some of these things aren't exactly correct. Anyway, if we just look at the base models, we see the Tesla Model 3 and IONIQ are cheaper than the BMW i4, but you get more of a deal if you qualify for the federal tax credit, which would reduce the price on the Model 3. When it comes to the range, the Model 3 is the winner, as it has 32 more miles than the IONIQ 6. The fuel economy on the IONIQ 6 and Model 3 are very close, but the IONIQ is better by 3 miles per gallon equivalent. Tesla doesn't specify motor output on their website, and on their manual they just list out specs, but don't point out which trim. So this number is based on the articles I have found. With this, it looks like the eDrive 35 is higher than the other two. As for charging, I didn't see a stat listed for the standard range battery, so I'm going off articles that say 175 kilowatts. So if this is true, then it's slightly better than the rear-wheel drive Tesla. Lastly are things like build, features, and drive, which all could definitely change your outlook on each vehicle. I think Tesla's a win in tech, but the IONIQ 6 and BMW i4 are ahead in build quality. I don't normally talk about key fobs, but this design is so outdated. It looks like something out of an early 2000s sharper image catalog. I get that it's supposed to be the Hyundai logo, but this combination of cheap silver plastic plus light blue buttons gives it a very dated look. I really like what the IONIQs have to offer: good range, fast charging, and standard tech and safety features. The IONIQ 6 has a distinct design, so it stands out on the road, and it has a quiet and smooth drive. However, its storage space isn't great, and it's a little pricier than some of its competitors. Also, charging at Electrify America and EVgo aren't the greatest experiences right now. This isn't a flaw in the car, but it does negatively affect the ownership experience. If we could get these cars charging at 800 volts on the supercharging network, it'd be a fantastic road trip car. All in all, it's a good choice, and I'd recommend you take it for a test drive. Thanks for spending time with me today. Support our channel and check out our new store at callaev.com/store. We have Calla stickers now. Calla is my dog. If you have an EV I can review, email me at info@callaev.com. Make sure to subscribe for more EV content and follow us on social media. That's all for now, and happy charging.